Bell's performance the other day, Coach?
Well, it was good to have him back on the field to start with, and obviously it was his most productive game that he's had, I think, since he's been here, most likely. And he's still not full speed. I'm looking forward to getting him back in practice and getting him in better shape, and just see if we can't progress from what we accomplished last week.
What do you think he did that led to the 2 sacks that he got?
Well, he just kept straining. He kept after it. We call one of them a dirty sack. The first one he got, they flushed him out of the pocket. Jamario runs well enough that he was straining hard and kept on and was able to make the play. And then basically the same thing on the second one. He come off the edge and just kept pressing the tackle, was able to get a rip off of him. Just staying after it.
You got a couple of seniors that are still healthy, I guess, now, and with Jamario back. But have you ever been so young overall at defensive?
No, never, especially in this league.
What about as young and talented? I know you brought some good ones.
Well, we got a lot of, we have talent. We got to keep playing, obviously, and getting better. Solely, I'm looking forward to hopefully he'll get that big ball off his hand in the next couple of weeks. I think he can play better than what he's playing because he can escape blocks better when he gets that off. Big Colin Clay's, he's a load out there. He made a couple of big plays early in the game. And just getting consistency out of those guys, and hopefully we'll have Zach back for week after next. And I'm still wanting to get Eric in the game and just have not got Eric in yet to let him play. But those are 4 young guys that I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time with in the future.
What have you been most impressed with those guys in terms of what they've done to how quickly they've been thrown to the fire?
I think the most impressive thing is just the fact that they hadn't backed down from anything. Especially you, Eric, and Colin, Soley, and Zach. Those are the 3 guys that's played. They go play down at Ole Miss, and then they play at A&M, and it's like it doesn't bother them. The stage isn't too big for them. So we just got to keep growing and get stronger and be better technique players and more consistent in what we're doing.
Welcome in. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and we decided today we're going to bring you a special edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk here on KDSJ 479. We caught up with a couple of Diamond Gang prospects. We're going to talk recruiting today, and we did a couple of early morning recordings with 2 very, very, very important Arkansas commits, one being 2020 offensive tackle Tykees Crawford from Carthage High School, and his teammate Gilvante Dixon, known as Moochie Dixon. Those 2, I had the chance to sit down with those 2 early this morning, and we talked a little bit about the Arkansas Razorbacks, where they sit. We talked about their high school senior year up to this point. All that's coming up at the 1:15 and 1:30 hour. We'll let you hear from those 2 4-star young men, 2 young men that I think is going to be really, really important in the reemergence of this Arkansas program on the national scene. So we'll let you hear what those guys had to say with my sit down here on OTH with those 2 young men here in the coming segments. But I want to come in with my producer, Demetrius Johnson. We had some audio from defensive ends coach Steve Caldwell as we had media availability with the defensive staff yesterday evening following their off day practice. And, Steve came in with, the question was asked, this is the youngest defensive end group that he's ever had the opportunity or been in the position to coach. That's saying a lot, Demetrius, because Coach Caldwell's been in this business quite a long time.
I think it's a good thing. I think Coach Caldwell really has a lot to look up to. You look at the ceiling for these guys. He mentioned Mateo Soli. That's a guy, you were raving about all through camp, talking about how he's going to play right away. And I think he's really living up to the expectations that are brought upon him, just being a son of a former player that's played at Arkansas. So I think it's good. I think we have a lot of positives to look at. I think so many times, and I'm one of those type of guys that, we look at the overall product. And that's, at the end of the day, it's all about wins and losses. But when you really break down football, and especially in the SEC, it's the little things that really matter. It's the minute things that most people would take for granted are the one things that, you see the Alabama and Clemson's have down pat. and to the utmost expectation. So I think if you look at Arkansas and you revamp just off of what you saw last week in Dallas, I think there's a lot of positives to take away. Again, I think the coaches coached one of their best games thus far, including the wins and losses here at the University of Arkansas for Chad. So I think it's a lot of positives with having such a young group on defense, and not only on defense, offense as well.
And, you know, the thing that I look at is that with this being the second youngest defense in all of college football, I think that goes unnoticed sometimes here at the University of Arkansas. And the thing that sticks out to me is right now Arkansas leads the nation in fumble recovery for TDs, and they're fourth in the SEC in turnovers forced. So for this to be such a young team, they're doing a lot of good things. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a slow process. Coach, I keep going back to Chad Moore said it's going to be a year-to-year building process. This is a situation that, and we mentioned in yesterday's show, you lose over 30 individuals following Brett Beelan being let go, and then you have to replenish that with 52 new ball players. I mean, that's when you look at it, guys, and all viewers and listeners, that's about 85. That's basically having to replace a whole football team. And I don't know of anybody, no matter what conference or college or what level of sport you're in, is going to be able to do that in 17 games. Chad Morris is on the right track, I really feel. We're getting this program back, and, I'm one of the hard ones in the media. I sit there sometimes and you get frustrated. You get frustrated from the media standpoint. You get frustrated from the fan standpoint. But when you sit back, as my producer Demetrius said, and you really analyze this football team and you look at game to game, outside of that San Jose State game, there's really not a game that you walked away from there very disappointed and didn't feel like this football team played up to a standard. But I want to make a note real quick before we get on to our interview in our Diamond Gang show for today. My sit down with offensive tackle commit and 4-star Tykees Crawford out of Carthage, Texas. He'll be up in the following segments. Really want to get a shout out to our sponsors real quick and call out Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, it's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Anything you need to look good, residential, commercial, doesn't really matter. I mean, he's going to spoof it up. Call Corey Beck, and you won't be disappointed in our last but newest sponsor, KDK's Chicken. It's located at 989 South Razorback Road. As I said, go down and see Kathy, Keith, and get your plate of that love. Like they say, it's not your mama's. But we're going to step away. We got more of the defensive coaches media day interview as we were made available to those guys yesterday. And Mark Smith is up. And then when we come back, my sit down with 2020 offensive tackle and Arkansas commit, Tykees Crawford. You'll hear it in its entirety. It's up next. You're listening to On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
I was really happy to get him back, from being out the week before, and I thought he made a good play, flattened the route out. When we're down there in the goal line in the red zone, sometimes we allow them to get behind us, get in a trail position, and make them throw it over the top, and he did a nice job of turning and getting his head back to the ball, and it was a little underthrown, and he was in a great position right there to get it. And we kind of saw the sideline right there, and he took off at it, and I was hoping he'd split it right there and go score, but it was a great play, big moment in the game.
Y'all have already matched your interception total from last year. Is that something you expected to happen this early?
I don't know that we expected it or not. We certainly want to be competitive on the balls that are in the air. And, with the teams that you're playing, sometimes the ball gets thrown in the air more. A lot of it has to do with we get great pass rush on the quarterback, and we can affect him and we get him off the spot, and he's under a little duress when he throws the ball. That puts us in a good position to go and get it. But we definitely talked to the guys about, you be the wide wide out when that ball's in the air. Get turned and you go be the wide out. You have just as much as a right to the ball as they do, and we emphasize that, in our drills every day, and finish drill and taking the ball away. So that's something that's important to us, and we do. We want to be great at that. I know we're doing good with defensive touchdowns right now, getting the ball back. So that's a major emphasis, getting the ball back.
Darius got a scoop and score, and he started. I guess against San Jose when Montero goes out. What do you thought of his play?
He's been steady. I like right where he's at. He's done a really good job. I mean, really ever since last spring is when kind of I felt like that, the light bulb turned on for him, and he's done a great job, and he's prepared himself well each and every week that when his opportunity was there, that he went in and took advantage of it. And I thought he played a really solid game there. I was really happy for him. He's in the right position right there when the ball was on the ground to go get it, go score.
Now you guys obviously want to beat the Aggies, but the fact you played a lot better on defense than the week before, how can you guys build on that performance?
Well, we want to win the game. That's the ultimate goal. So there's disappointment when you don't get the outcome that you want. And we go back and we grade it the same. And we're looking at their assignment, their technique, and the effort that they give on each and every play. So as long as that's improving, each and every week, then we know we're making strides in the right direction. So we placed an emphasis on that from the week before, and I felt like the guys really responded well. We needed to make one more stop there, as it turns out to be, and to get ourselves in a better position to win, and we wish we would have. But we can see things from that game that'll carry us on the rest of the season that hopefully has a similar impact on how we win.
Talk Radio, and we're going to talk a little diamond game. Arkansas in need of big-time offensive linemen in the 2020 class. Went out and I think got one of the best in the country, and we're going to let you guys hear from him. We're going to bring in Carthage, Texas, and Arkansas commit Tykees Crawford. TC, welcome on the Hill, my man.
What's good? What's good?
How is everything going, TC? I know being an early commit, got that out of the way. Talk about the senior year that you're having at Carthage, and also, you guys as a team. How's things going in the early part of high school football?
Everything's going pretty good so far. The season's still kicking off. Got a big game Friday coming up, playing against Pleasant Grove. They got some good defensive linemen. That's all we're worried about right now. School so far is going great. Trying to stay on top of my class is the main thing.
Takis, I know being a senior, how with the leadership role, I had a chance to see a local TV station interview that you did a little over 10 days or so. I was really impressed with, that part of who you are off the field. Talk about that leadership role and the way you have had to embrace it, with your senior year in particular.
See, being a leader, it comes with a lot of responsibility. It's a burden on your shoulders also, because when one of your teammates mess up, like the position you play, you also mess up. So you got to be the one to correct them before coach ends up getting on to you for not saying anything that's going down or not trying to fix it.
Now, with you being an Arkansas commit, you're going to have a chance this upcoming Friday night, as you mentioned, against Pleasant Grove to play against three guys that have been offered by the same school that you'll attend, with that being Arkansas. Talk about, how excited are you to get a chance to play, that type of talent, to get you ready for the collegiate level?
Well, I've been ready for this game ever since the season. Well, actually, I've been ready for this game ever since last year. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it was one of the best games we had last year. It was one of the best games we had this year. For a fact, I know that.
Talk about, your team. What is it about you guys? I know you have a teammate that's going to be joining you in Fayetteville, with that being Moochie.
Yes, sir.
Talk about you guys. I mean, you guys are the mark guys. You being the offensive lineman, I'm pretty sure every defensive lineman wants to get a chance at big number 77. But talk about, your teammate. What is it about Moochie that makes him special, and somebody that, you're really excited to play with, beyond high school?
Because Moochie, every day in practice, Moochie would always be the bring the energy. Everybody else can be sitting in that quiet. All you hear is Moochie over there singing and dancing, jumping around, hooping and hollering. And I mean, hey, he's always going to bring the energy, and that's what he does. And he also get the job done, too.
Now, talk on the recruiting side of things. You've committed to Arkansas, but still, it's. I'm pretty sure coaches are not going to stop recruiting. How has the recruiting process been, and just how much pressure have you been under by other schools to stick with this Arkansas commitment?
Yeah, coaches, they still come in and talk to me, tell me they still gonna offer me, tell me how bad they want me and everything. But I'm still 100% with Arkansas right now because ain't nobody making me change my mind at all. So
I know you spoke earlier in the summer when you did make that commitment of Jeff Traylor, Coach Morris, with those guys being East Texas, from the area you call the 901. Talk about, the
903,
903. Hey, that's how you got it, East Texas is. But, talk about that relationship with Coach Morris and Traylor, and how special that's going to be able to play for those guys.
yeah, it's gonna be really special because they're from a town like I'm from. They're from a small town of Texas over here, all that. So most likely I know some people because it would feel like home when I go down there, and that's what I was looking for. Because I look for a home and a place I can grow.
Takis, you had a chance to go down to Dallas this past weekend and go on an unofficial and just sit back and watch the Arkansas Texas game, A&M game from a player standpoint. I mean, were you seeing yourself and how you would fit in, next year in that ball game and beyond?
I was. I had a couple people come up to me and say we could have used you out there today. Then I had to sign a couple autographs and stuff like that.
How is that, with all the Razorback fans being at that game and just, with them saying that and being able to sign autographs and meet people that, you get a chance, you only get a chance to see over Twitter and social media.
It was pretty cool knowing that I have fans of mine, knowing that I have people who actually know about me and like me. That felt really special.
What part of the game, that you wanted to work on after your junior year, heading into your senior year, Takis, do you feel like right now you've really improved, and what part was already to where you wanted to be that you even made even better?
My pass game was it was all right last year, but it's way better this year. But my run game, that's what I'm gonna sit up there and really work on this year. I want to make that like 100. I want to try to get there at least 100%. It's not 190% because you can't always be perfect.
Now I know with this class, you play a big role in this diamond game class that's being assembled for Coach Morris in Arkansas. Are there any other guys, Takis, that you have on your radar that you would like to join you in Fayetteville in that 20 class?
I'm be honest, I have no clue. I have nobody.
When are you planning to make another visit to Fayetteville?
I should be down there whenever they play Auburn. The same day as Keontae. Not Keontae. God dang, Keontae. My fault.
Oh, I know him as Mooch.
Yeah, Mooch.
Well, I know. I want you to just know I appreciate you taking time out here on the hill, and for one final message for the listeners and fans of the Razorback Nation that are listening to this interview, TC, what's the one message that you'd like to say in your words? Yeah.
I'll be at the Arkansas. I'll be at the Arkansas versus Auburn game. Y'all come see. We can take pictures. I'll sign autographs and everything you need me to do. For some reason, I want to meet Cannon. I've not met Cannon, whatever his name is. I feel disrespectful because I didn't pronounce his name right, but I want to meet him.
Well, I'm pretty sure he'll find you in Fayetteville on the 18th. But TC, Takis, I want to thank you for coming on. Good luck this weekend and continued success in your senior year.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Arkansas commit, big time 4-star offensive tackle and Arkansas commit Takis Crawford. As we had to sit down, he sat down with us on OTH and let us in on just a little bit of his journey. And real quick before we get on to our next Diamond game, because when we were in Clough, we couldn't leave. They have another young man that's going to be a Razorback. We're going to let you hear from him in our second half of our sit down on the Diamond Game show, and that's going to be Kelvontae Dixon. I know him as Moochie. You guys will know him as Moochie, but he's one of the elite athletes in the state of Texas and will be a very, very good addition to the University of Arkansas. But real quick before we get to our next break, before we get Moochie on and get his thoughts, I want to go to my producer because he had a chance to see highlights as you all did throughout the interview with Tykees, what was the one thing, Demetrius, that stood out about big number 78?
I think you said it best. You said you spoke about Tykees' feet. You know, you talked about how there's some linemen right now on University of Arkansas starting lineup that can't do some of the movements and body positions that Tykees is able to put himself in to make some of those key blocks.
And real quick, before we get on to our next segment, as we caught up with defensive line coach Kenny Ingram, want to let everyone know before our next interview, as this is brought to you by Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. It's also brought to you by Locomotion. It's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, and also too, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Any residential, commercial, anything that you need to make, you want to look good, contact Corey Beck. And as I've always said, you will not be disappointed in our newest sponsor and our latest sponsor, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 Razorback Road. Be sure and check out Keith and Kathy. Go down and get a plate of that love. I'm telling you, it's not your mama's best chicken in the South. But we're going to take a quick break and continue on with the Diamond Game. But first, we want you to hear from defensive line coach Kenny Ingram, and then we'll be back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
I wouldn't say, I don't know, I would say that he's getting more attention, based on because right now, I got the guys that we have in there at the end, they're doing some good things. Jamario Bell, he's doing some good things. So it's, they're doing some good things on the outside as well.
Coach, just what in general do you want to see your guys do better in the coming weeks?
The things that we did well Saturday, we want to see if we can get better at those things. And the things we didn't do well, we just want to improve on that. Each player has different things that they do well, and each player has different things they don't do as well. So, just from an individual standpoint, we try to point out those things, point out the things we did well, challenge them to get better at those things, and then the things we didn't do well, we want to make sure we try to get some emphasis in that and get better at that.
Is Saturday something TJ can build on?
Without question. It's something he can build on, something that other guys who are watching him. TJ, he's consistent in practice, he's consistent in his work ethic, man, so the other guys get a chance to see it, and as well for himself, he can get a chance to build on what he had, the success he has had.
What did you guys do to control the run game the other day?
We just try to attack the line of scrimmage, try to be physical at the point of contact, man, and just try to do our job. So we was successful. We did it. We did some good things in doing that.
The second group, Marshall and Large and Nichols, how are those guys doing?
They're doing good. They're doing good. It's like anything else. All of us, got things we do well, and then we got things that we don't do well. But they're good. I'm pleased with their progress. Each week they're getting better, but more importantly, they want to be better. So they put in the time and the effort to try to be better.
Sosa, what's up with him right now?
I'm not at liberty to talk about that. That's a Coach Morris.
Sports Talk Radio, and it's Wednesday, but we thought we'd talk a little Diamond Gang, and there's some Texas Diamond Gang prospects that will be making their way to Fayetteville, and we thought we'd talk to one of them, a very special electric receiver that I think you guys want to hear a little bit from. We're going to welcome in 2020 wide receiver athlete Kelvonte Dixon of Carthage High School in Carthage, Texas. Moochie, welcome to OTH, my man.
What's up?
Let's talk about how it's been going, Kelvonte. How has your senior year in the early stages of Texas high school football, how do you feel it's been, going to your standard?
Well, my senior year actually is going great. Better than I expected it to be.
What are some things that you feel really good about that makes you, feel that way? Because you said that with a little confidence, Kelvonte. I mean, what is it that you've been really doing? Because I've been watching a little film and things that I see, I understand, but explain that, and just, the way you're seeing the game of football right now.
The way I see the game of football?
Absolutely.
It's actually my passion.
Now, I know you and the Carthage Bulldogs, you guys are going to be making your way down the highway just a little bit to take on a very, very, good Pleasant Grove team. They have a lot of D1 athletes that I'm pretty sure you and your teammates are excited about. But talk about that. How does that prepare you to be able to play on Friday nights in Texas high school football for when you get to Arkansas and beyond?
It actually prepares me a lot, and actually it helps me get better for the bigger stages of what I'm going to be doing.
Talk about Carthage high school football. What is it about Carthage, Texas, and that high school football program, Delvante, that you think that you can always take with you when you get, to Fayetteville, and always, use that as something to lean on?
It's all out. It's what we say is win, which is what's important now. So yeah, I think that win as in win. Like that's all we like to do. All we like to do is win. We do not accept L's at all.
Now you come from a family. Your brother plays as a starting running back. Quite the running back. You had a chance to play with him. Your sophomore year. Talk about from watching his experiences. How did that help you make your decision when you decided to choose Arkansas? I mean, what were some of the things that you took from his recruit?
It helped me prepare actually a lot because what he told me was to take my time, whatever my desire, wherever I want to go, he'll fully support me.
Now I know you and TC, the big fella, you guys are the marked men. Let's make no mistake about that. When you watch film and to anybody that watches you move you and your big fella, you understand why that is. Talk about how excited you are to know that when you get to Fayetteville, you're going to have a big number 77 always in your offensive line.
That's going to be exciting having a line like this, a big guy like this, one who got one who will step up and do whatever it takes.
Talk about Tykees. What is it that really makes him one of the elite offensive linemen in the state of Texas, and what I consider in many to be one of the elite in the country?
Just actually his love of the game, his passion for the game.
Now you've been up to Fayetteville a couple of times. I believe you came up officially back in the summer, and then I believe back when Arkansas played LSU here in Fayetteville. What is it about the University of Arkansas, Mochi, that really made you comfortable and really feel comfortable with giving your players to Coach Morris in that program?
Well, really, it didn't matter if they were on cross. They still should be built off of it.
Now, you had a chance to watch Arkansas. I mean, you've had a chance to watch them. You didn't get a chance to make it to Jerry's World on Saturday, but when you're watching that game, what's it like to be able to put yourself in some of those offensive situations for Arkansas? Is that something that you do quite often, being as how you're just, you'll be in that stadium and in that jersey in just a few short months?
Yes, sir. Well, man, I actually felt excited actually watching the game. It felt like I was actually in the game.
Now, Coach Morris, Coach Traylor, two guys, Coach Morris being the head coach, Traylor being the running backs coach, but a well-known high school coach at Gilmer. Being the guys that recruited you and being two guys that are, as I told, Tykees corrected me to 903. Being two guys, what's that like to be able to know you're going to come up here and play with two guys that really understand where, you guys come from?
Well, I mean, it shows that we're actually from the 902 and how we play and how the passion we got for the game.
Now, we can't, like I said, I stated earlier in the interview, for those that are listening and just tuned in, we're talking with 2020 wide receiver athlete, one of the elite ones in the country, Delvante Dixon of Carthage High School, here on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. But let's talk about this. Let's have a little fun, Gucci. If your brother's up at Texas, and we all know the Arkansas-Texas game will be in Fayetteville, I believe in 2021. So doesn't that put you around that freshman, or, well, I don't see it happening, but say that sophomore year, talk about what that'll be like in one of the historic games between Arkansas and Texas, those type of rivalries. Have you and your mom and your brother talked about that possibility? And, what comes about that conversation?
I mean, we really haven't discussed it. We just know it's gonna be an exciting game, brother versus brothers.
You think she's gonna have to get one of those half jerseys and have a snout
Yes,
and a
sir.
horn? Is that what she got to do with that? We'll put and she'll have to find a 50-yard line family ticket so she could just be split right there. You think that'll work?
Yes, sir.
Well, Cavante, I know you got the big game coming up, but what are some other things that you'd like to accomplish? In this senior year, I know the state championship, but personally, do you have any goals that you set for yourself?
Really to actually be better than I was my senior year. I mean, I was decent my junior year, but my senior, I want to go all out for it.
Now, do you have any other visits outside? I know you and I spoke earlier today, and you said you'll be up here at the Auburn game, I think, with the big fella. Are there any other visits that you have planned, unofficial? Just to go out and just enjoy college life.
Not really, but I mean, I've visited Texas like a few times.
Well, I know you got that big one coming up, my man, and I want you to know thanks for taking time out here to, on the Hill, just to let the listeners get a little taste of what's going on in Moochie's life in Carthage High School football. But if any message you'd like to leave the Razorback listeners and just people in general that are listening to the show today, if there's one message you want them to know about Moochie, what would that one message be?
Man, whoopee.
All right, Mooch. Well, hey, my man, thanks for being, a guest here on the Diamond Game segment of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. And have a good one. Continue to eat out there, young fella. Have a great game Friday, and we'll be keeping in touch. All right.
That was Arkansas 2020 commit athlete Kelvonte Moochie Dixon of Carthage, Texas. Big time recruit, big time commit. I mean, when you look at him, Demetrius, and you had a chance to watch film as our listeners did, he had, kind of some resemblance of old number 3 we used to have a few years ago. Played with Petrino. Do you know who that guy was? Had a very well-known punt return against Tennessee one evening.
No, I can't recall.
Didn't he? I mean, Regimes had a lot of Joe Adams in he did.
Yeah, I mean, he did, but honestly, he reminded me of Jerry's Wright a little bit more.
I could go with that as well.
Joe had a little bit more elusiveness dance to him. And I'm not saying he didn't have a juke move or nothing like that, but Jerry's was one of those guys that he just first stepped in. He was a guy that knew how to get upfield, get the ball, and turn upfield and go get the yards. And that's what type of player he looks like. He looks like he has that second verse. If you need to give him a screenplay, he can take that screenplay 30-plus yards and make it into a big-time impact play. So I definitely would say he has that speed that Joe Adams and Jerry's Wright possess.
Well, we're going to step away, get us a real quick break. We've got much, much more. We also caught up with defensive backs coach Ron Cooper. We'll hear what Coach Cooper has to say, and then C.J. O'Grady was nominated for a pretty prestigious award, and there's some other things behind it. We'll show you how good of a season and why I personally think he should be a first-team All-SEC tight end. He's the best in the conference, and we'll prove it. We'll show you the numbers to prove it. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
You can take it away.
Let's
Always
get it.
gives you a little energy, a little juice. The guys know we've made a big deal out of it here. We're gonna make a big deal of it out of it after the game. So they take pride in it, and we do too as coaches.
Where's the team emotionally right now after another game against A&M that you could have had?
Well, we had a great practice today. I've been doing this in my 35th season. I don't know if I've been in a situation like this to where our players had a better attitude. The attitude was outstanding today. And, as long as they're, we still got a lot of young guys. As long as they're giving effort and practicing, the attitude's good, there's nothing more that we can ask. I was definitely pleased today. For an open week on a Tuesday in full gear, it was real good.
Young guys back there, Catalan and some of the other guys that you mentioned, how much do you want to continue to get them in the games to help build
I
it?
told Jalen today we're gonna figure out a rotation, to where some of the guys that are backups, and I'm gonna name because you get into the game, sometimes it gets tough. I'm going to name this series. You're going in this series no matter what. And this series, you're going in the second half. And they know it going into the game. The guys know, and it helps me with, getting out of the flow of the game, of knowing it's happening. I'm thinking of what's next, making adjustments, so you forget about sometimes the substitution. But, we got to get some of the backups in the game just to get them experience. At the same time, we've got a group of guys that's played all 70 plays this past week, and it's too many to play.
Yeah, what has prevented Jalen from getting on the field?
Well, he's played. I got him in a couple of times. He's gotten better. Again, he plays the boundary safety. If you remember last year when you guys may have asked me that when Joe was trying to learn it, the safety, the safety position, and the nickel, two of the hardest. They direct. They're the quarterback. So you don't look around this conference and see a lot of freshman safeties playing on any team. So, but he's come along and practiced real well. I'm excited for him. He'll be a player.
When you look at the tape and you talk to your guys, just cutting down on giving up big chunk plays and cutting up, not getting beat.
Yeah.
The emphasis on that.
This week against A&M. It was a lot better. You try not to let the ball get thrown over your head. You guys are sports people. You see it every week on TV. But if you can limit those things, and when you get an SEC play, they got good players too. But if you can limit those or cut them out completely, it makes it better. We tackled a little better. We still had a couple plays here and there, but at the same time, we went out as a staff and our guys tackled, 2 periods today, which is about 10 to 12 minutes of tackling. And the guys are getting better, and we're emphasizing it, and it's going to make us even a better football.
Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. As we let you hear audio, just had a sit-down interview, a couple of sit-down interviews with some very prominent Razorback commits from Carthage, Texas High School. Tykees Crawford, the big 6'6", 320-pound offensive tackle that'll be making his way in Arkansas. I'm telling you, they beat some big-time programs, Demetrius, for this young man. We're talking Alabama, we're talking Oklahoma, we're talking Texas A&M, and we're talking some of the blue bloods of college football. And Arkansas and Coach Morris was able to garner this man's commitment as also, too. Following Tykees, we let you hear Kelvonte Moochie Dixon. I really like, Demetrius, your comparison, and I saw a viewer comment as well that they really agreed with the Jarius Wright comparison, and I did too. But Arkansas's senior tight end C.J. O'Grady was awarded yesterday the Mackey Award, Player of the Week, regarded as the tight end that had the big weekend. And I want to talk about Cheyenne because, Demetrius, you knew that I was very disappointed in where Cheyenne came in when the ballot came from most SEC local media, national media as well. I've always thought C.J. O'Grady was the best tight end in the country. I felt that way, or I should say in the SEC, and one of the elite in all of college football. And the stats, they show that. Through 5 games, C.J. has 18 receptions, which leads the SEC, 243 yards receiving, which leads the SEC and ranks 7th nationally. 7th nationally. Also, too, let's go a little deeper. 122 yards after catch. That's yak. The yak that people talk about. It also, too, leads the SEC, which makes him 9th, both in yards after the catch and receiving yards. So, we're talking about a talent. And I think when I look at all those numbers, Demetrius, there's not another SEC tight end that's even close to CJ. So, did they get it right or did they blow it? Because I think they blew it at SEC Media Day. CJ O'Grady, to me, is only going to have to be even more of a bigger piece in the final 7 games if the Hogs, Chad Morrison year 2, plan to make a bowl game. 85 has to be a really big focal point going forward.
No, I don't. I can't say that they got it wrong because all they did was go off of what Cheyenne O'Grady's resume was thus far going into this year. And I think when you look back at last year and his numbers and what some of the other guys around the SEC numbers were, Cheyenne is still in that top. But I couldn't just give him that number one spot just because I go to Arkansas and just because I see more games of him, because there could have been guys having way better seasons from an eye standpoint. But I will say, looking at this year, I definitely see a big improvement in Cheyenne O'Grady. I definitely think he's making putting a very admirable campaign together for that Mackey Award.
More dollar figures are being added to his name.
Oh, definitely.
As we go in each and every Saturday.
I definitely think if he makes the winning catch of that Texas A&M game, I can't fault him for not catching that ball because that was one of those 50-50 balls that this guy never makes this pass, so let me get ready to go on defense versus playing to the end of the whistle. I think if he makes that catch and wins that game, I think he for sure gets that first round draft pick. Not saying that he's not a first rounder, but I think if he catches that ball, wins that game in Jerry's world, and changes the trajectory of Arkansas, because it's been 8 years since Arkansas has won that Southwest Classic. So I think if he could have made somewhat of what Hunter Henry did with that Ole Miss game. When you look at Hunter Henry's career, the first game everybody wants to talk about is the Hunter Heat, and that happened to be the last SEC game, the University of Arkansas won. So, to me, I think if he would have won that game, that would have been Cheyenne O'Grady's biggest moment thus far in a Razorback uniform, and would have kind of solidified him being kind of one of those tight end greats, because athletically, I definitely have to say Cheyenne is definitely one of the top Razorbacks of all time playing that tight end position.
Which it leads me into another note that I'd be remiss not to mention is Barry Lunny Jr. Being one of the elite tight end coaches in all of college football. When you talk about the guys that he's had the privilege to develop and coach here at Arkansas at that tight end position, we go back to DJ Williams. We follow that up with Hunter Henry, A.J. Derby, Jeremy Sprinkle, and now C.J. in a long list. And it just seems like Arkansas, to me, Demetrius, is kind of turning into that tight end U, a position that will be highly favored when the NFL comes to Fayetteville to scout talent. Barry does a great job, and he's even even more tremendous recruiter going forward. But I also, too, want to make a note. Let's talk a little defense before we get out of here. It came out today that Arkansas leads the nation in fumble recovery TDs, and they're fourth in the SEC defensively at creating turnovers. For this to be such a young football team, if you're a Razorback fan, you have to feel really good about the future going forward on how this defense is going to fare in years to come. Now, there's still going to be some rocky roads. There are going to be some hard lessons throughout this year. That's going to be part of it. But, the one thing I like about this team, and in particular this staff, is they're not skipping steps. They're going up that ladder one step at a time. And it's going to take a couple more recruiting classes, I feel, for Chad and his program to really get to that level. But I do see it trending forward. I really felt like, the A&M game was something that you can really build on. And talking to the coaches in media day yesterday, as we spoke with Coach Caldwell, Coach Ingram, Coach Smith, and Coach Cooper, Demetrius, they feel real confident about the attitude. And it goes back at you have to give credit to that senior class. You also have to give credit to those younger guys and how the culture, they've talked about the culture changing. Also, too, it was reported, and I'll make a note that a couple green jerseys that I saw at yesterday's practice that were back out at the practice field. Gabe Richardson was in green jersey. Zach Williams, freshman defensive end who'd been out the previous 2 weekends in ball games, it was back in a green jersey, as was, we lost Davion Warren. He went out there. I don't believe he played on Saturday due to concussion protocol. He, too, was back out on the practice field in a green jersey. Cheyenne O'Grady, but I think that's just precautionary, was in a green jersey. Rakeem Boyd, I also, too, think that was precautionary. And then junior wide receiver, a guy that I think is really going to help the receiver core going forward with a little bit more speed. Jordan Jones was back out on the practice field with his brothers and with the Razorback football team. So all that going forward, it's really going to be good for an off week. Also, to make a note, Nick Starkle did take first team reps, was not in the green jersey, just had an orange sleeve on. Looked like he was going to be 100% going forward for next Saturday, 6:30 kickoff in Lexington versus Kentucky Wildcats. But that's going to wrap up our show today. We're going to be back with much, much more tomorrow. We're going to take another SEC caravan and get you guys ready for more SEC football. There's a lot of big games going on this week. We'll continue to get updates. Who knows? We might have more recruiting. We've been on the Diamond game pretty good this week, Demetrius. Don't you think? I mean, we've been on that thing pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's all kudos to Chad Morris. I think, he understands that he's not in the position to win, that he still has some pieces to kind of put together. And I think the more games that we're seeing that we're not too far away, that we need a piece here or there. And we can definitely be able to compete in the SEC. So I just got to say shout out to Chad Moore. He's really defying the odds as far as blocking out what the naysayers saying. I'm one of those guys that's really hard on Chad. You know, I want to see him win.
But I don't think you're any more harder than the entire state of Arkansas.
I think I'm pretty hard on Chad. And when you make the big bucks, we talked about that maybe
when you sign up for that, you're right.
When you
Great
get
point.
paid the big bucks, you have no excuse. So again, I think Chad is handling the adversity. I think, like I said, he needs a couple of more pieces and possibly even maybe a change on some of the coaching staff. I don't know, but I think this far he's definitely headed in the right situation.
Well, I totally agree with you. Maybe not on the coaches. I think that staff will get a
Hey,
year.
you love them guys, man. I'm not.
I think it's a process. I think all of them bring something to the table as they're able to recruit. I think that's first and foremost on a Chad Moore staff. If you have to be able to bring food to the table. If you don't bring anything to cook, you're not going to eat, and you're not going to be at that table. You will be released. But I see this staff group recruiting. A lot of these kids that I talk to are being recruited by one, or it could be a group thing in recruiting. And I think they really work well together in this staff. And I don't see any bad gets in that freshman class. I think that freshman class is going to be something that is going to be really special for years to come. I also make a note when we spoke with Coach Caldwell, he did make mention that Mateus Soli, true freshman defensive end, they expect him to have the wrap off of his hand here in the coming weeks. And boy, Demetrius, I'm really curious to see just how much better Matai is going to be, because I think you're going to see a tremendous jump as he's able to use both of his hands and get off blocks a little bit better. I think you start seeing that burst that so many people talked about coming out of high school as he made his way to Fayetteville. But that's going to wrap up our show today. We want to give a big thank you to our Diamond Gang features today. 2020 offensive tackle, 6'6", 2020 offensive tackle, big man out of Carthage, Texas, Tykees Crawford, for giving us a couple of minutes into his recruiting journey and how his senior season's going. And also, too, Kilvante Moochie Dixon. He, too, plays at the high school of Carthage High School with teammate Tykees Crawford. Both will be making their way to Fayetteville in that 2020 Diamond Gang class. I want to give a shout-out to them for joining us. And lastly, I want to give a shout-out to all our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also, too, in Rogers. Locomotion, it's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. You need it to look good, residential, commercial, anything. I'm telling you, he did ours, and I'm very, very happy. Contact Corey Beck. And lastly, KDK's Chicken. You can find them at 989 Razorback Road. Go down and see Keith and Kathy. Get you a plate of that love. And like they say, it's not your mama's best chicken in the South. But that's going to wrap it up for my producer. We want to thank you all for listening. And like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys